Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture, brought to you by my sponsors, Mixum Printing, the smarter way to print. I know printing your creative project can be confusing and stressful, but Mixum is here to make it easy. From their instant quote calculator that lets you get as many quotes as you want for free, to their 24-hour customer service support, Mixum is here to make sure your printing experience runs smoothly from start to finish. And right now you can choose from a range of premium printing options and materials, and the company has also printed many successful Kickstarter campaigns. I know a bunch of them, and a bunch of my friends are actually using Mixum right now, but I can't tell you about those projects because they are not technically announced at the moment. So you've heard a bunch of them on this show, and you're going to hear a bunch coming in 2022. And they offer services in the United States, Canada, Australia, and the UK, and Mixum can print and reach your audience anywhere in the world. So if you're ready to print smarter, not harder, head over to Mixum.com. And right now they're running a promotion where listeners of my show can drop my name, Andrew Davis, in a message tab of a current order to get a 5% discount on their first order. So that is Mixam.com. Again, type my name, Andrew Davis, in the message tab of a current order to receive a 5% discount on your very first order. Also, I am sponsored by BCW Supplies. I know bagging and boarding your comics is important, guys. I want my comics when I get from Kickstarter to arrive perfectly, or from the comic shop, and I like to store my books perfectly. And you can actually use my code on BCW Supplies, Pop Anime Comics, to get 10% off your order. And you can use that code each and every time at checkout to save 10%. And it is an affiliate link. I get an affiliate off of it, but you're saving money, they're getting business, and you're supporting a small podcast that hopefully is going to become a big podcast eventually and is on its way to doing so. So please use that code, because when I buy bags and boards, I buy about $500 worth, and $50 goes a long way. So please go use that code, everybody. Save yourself some money, and also support this show, support BCW Supplies because they're a great company, and protect your comic books. And so without further ado, I have with me comic writer and creator Dolan. So welcome to the show.
Great to be here, Andrew. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, I am very, very excited because I like the people at Merc Magazine. Obviously, I like Miss Meow. I like Jamie Tyndall. I like what he's doing there. And I just want to say thank you to Murphy because she sort of set all this up. And there's a lot of stuff that is going on. And I promise we're going to talk about Born of Blood. But before we get into that, I am curious how you got into comics because you are somewhat of a newbie in this space.
You're very true. It is my first Kickstarter. It's my first professional writing gig. I have been into comics literally since first grade, kindergarten. I have loved comics since I could read. I have loved the visual medium. I actually still own to this day two of the very first comics I've ever read. It's an issue of Adventures of Superman and one of the Uncanny X-Men when they fought the Brood. And those stories just stuck with me to this day, and I've been reading them my whole life. I love comics.
Yeah, so I am very curious because this is what's so interesting because this is, you've been around comics, and obviously people start off, most I think people do, I could be wrong, is that they're fans of comics, and that's why they say, hey, I want to go get and write a comic, I want to go draw a comic. And so how did you get into Merc Magazine and even meeting Jamie, Sean, Murphy, and how did all this come about that you got involved with Merc Magazine? Because it's very interesting what they're doing now, because before all this, and I don't think it's a secret, Jamie has done a lot of stuff. Jamie Tyndall has done a lot of stuff for movie studios, and he was doing a lot of covers for places like Zenescope, but now he's in the, I guess, comic business, and he has his own line of comics now. So I'm curious how all that came about for you.
Woo! How much time do we got? Do you have some time? Okay, so
yeah, all the time you want.
So this goes back to roughly 2018 or so, maybe 2017, 2018. That was when I first met Sean Hudachko. He is the co-publisher of Merc Magazine with Jamie Tyndall. And Sean had just opened up his first store here in Indianapolis, Indiana. And I went over with my brother. It was nothing but a warehouse filled with long boxes on a slab of concrete. That's all it was. And we would just hang out and talk comics for hours, literally hours. We would show up. I would show up there after work around 4 or 5, and I would hang out till like 10, 11 o'clock at night, just talking comics, helping him out. And eventually I started going with him to shows. We started just critiquing comics, new stuff coming out. And he knew I was competing in local competitions here in Indianapolis once a year. It's a comic book in a day competition where you have to write, draw, illustrate your comic book story in less than 24 hours. And I won 1 year and been most creative the last 2. But how this came about, me being a writer with him, is we have a channel on YouTube for Comics Elite where we review new comics. And I had reviewed Death Rage when that came out. And I had said, there's some interesting ideas here. There's some great ideas here that you can really dig upon that I think would be really cool to tie into the Death Rage universe, like with the Spartans. And Sean kind of, he did his thing like, oh yeah, that's an interesting idea. He said that one day. And then about a week or so later, Murphy comes into the office. I meet her pretty much face to face for the first time. And Sean brings up that they want to do a new title for the Merc line. They brought up the Spartans, and Sean had mentioned to Murphy that I had liked the Spartan angle, Death Rage, and maybe going back to that era. And Sean had brought up the idea, hey, how about maybe doing a female Spartan character? Would you be interested in writing that, Drew? And Dolan's my pen name, by the way. Sorry. And I said, sure, okay, why not? And I just was off to the races. I just started working on it that afternoon. That was back in May this year. And we finished it all up. I think that July, the whole script, all done. Then we started getting art pages in. And before I knew it, I had completed my first comic. It was crazy. I never thought it would happen. And Sean handed me my first check. He said, congratulations, you're officially a professional comic book writer now. It's like, wow.
So to even talk about this, because obviously to dive right into this, as obviously, and I'm just going to acknowledge the elephant in the room, apparently my internet isn't cooperating on the video side. I'm going to just acknowledge technology is sometimes our friend. Watch this. I thought it was about to behave.
Mm-hmm.
And I was about to, make a statement to myself. But I think everybody can still hear me, hopefully. So having going into all this, I think it's a really good time. So what is the basic premise of this story? 'Cause there's so much to talk about, and I promise we're going to get to all of it. But I think it's a really good idea because obviously I follow Merc Magazine and everything that Jamie Tyndall's doing since Miss Meow, and certain stories interest me more than others. But obviously I know what you guys are all doing, but some people might be hearing about this for the first time in my audience. So what is the basic story of, Born of Blood?
So the basic story is about Giaris, the daughter of King Cleomenes of Sparta. This is King Cleomenes from history. So there's actual historical elements in the story. And he was the king before Leonidas was king. And actually they were co-king at one point during Sparta's history. But we're going to learn about King Cleomenes' daughter, Giaris, and her rise to power to becoming queen and ultimately, wife of Leonidas. We're going to see her. We're going to see the warrior Giaris. We're going to see her just become the queen through trials, tribulations. We're going to see her triumphs, her tragedies, her defeats. She's going to be a fully fleshed woman, a fully fleshed character, someone that we can really, truly believe in and just root for her to succeed. We're going to see her whole life over 6 issues, her alpha to her omega. So, and I cannot wait. I just finished the first draft for issue 3, and I'm already summarizing the premise for issue 4. It's going to be more of a double-sized issue, and I got some great stuff planned. You guys are going to love it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of stuff going on with her, and obviously it's not, necessarily so pretty of a story. And what I mean by pretty is it gets pretty gruesome at points.
Yeah, and that's one thing, like I said, I love comics, and I love graphic comics. I love violent comics. I'm a big fan of Garth Ennis, The Punisher, Preacher, and I wanted to really emulate that and bring that out in my comic. I just no holds barred violence, just There's going to be nudity. There's going to be all this stuff. It's just be like the TV series Rome, but in comic book form. It's going to be great. If you enjoyed that show Rome, you're going to enjoy this.
Yeah, and that's something that I think is very, very interesting, where obviously Kickstarter really allows that to happen because unlike, DC, Marvel, or Dark Horse, or Dynamite or Image, even though Image, Dynamite, Dark Horse has a little bit more freedom where they're not acting as brand managers, it's still the idea that they do have people to answer to. And when you're on Kickstarter, you have a lot more freedom to do what you want. And so what is that like? Because I don't think you haven't worked for DC, Marvel, Image before, and you're coming right into the Kickstarter. And I don't want to say the indie scene because Kickstarter is mainstream now in a lot of ways, but it is indie comics in a lot of ways as well.
Yeah, and I love indie comics, and I love the freedom indie comics have, especially with Merc Magazine. Sean, Jamie, Murphy, they are my biggest supporters. It's amazing. Just it's unhinged. They just say like, go for it. As long as the story makes sense, we're gonna have the story make sense, but put in, get as crazy as you want, but we're gonna have it make sense at the same time. So we want every customer to feel like they're getting their money's worth. Because I'm not gonna lie, like comics for Marvel and DC, they're approaching $5 or $6 now. There's been a couple this past month that are $10, and I looked through them and like, this is not worth more than $2-3 at the most. And when you're reading mine, I want to feel like you got your money's worth out of it.
Yeah, I think that's a big problem going forward with DC and Marvel, and even when Image and places like Titan Comics come into the game as well. And obviously, I'm right now really digging the Cowboy Bebop comic in a lot of ways. So I'm very gung-ho on that. But it's the idea that a lot of this stuff is starting to creep up expensively. And I like to think that a DC book or a Marvel book's worth $4, and maybe I'm being generous. I'll be the first person that I'm overly generous right now on certain things. But when books start going for $6-7, I expect a better story. I expect a no-holds-barred story as well. And, obviously, I really am a free speech advocate where I want story to be front and center when I'm reading from a story standpoint versus an investing standpoint, which is a different ballgame completely. So what is that like that you have that freedom? Because I don't know if, this was done in DC, Marvel, or Dark Horse, or even Dynamite, you would have as much freedom.
No, and, I've told my family's asked me, they're like, oh, if this is successful, do you want to go work for Marvel? And I just tell them, no, I don't want to. I don't. If Marvel, this is the God honest truth. You have me on record right now recording this. If Marvel came to me and said, "Hey, we want you to do a backup story," and I'd be like, "No, it's not happening." And or DC, no, it's not happening. Even Image, probably no, not happening. It's just because I love the freedom Sean has given me to tell my story, and I know I wouldn't have the same amount of freedom that I would at Marvel or DC or Image or Dark Horse, maybe.
I mean, I'll be 100% on the record here where if DC came to me and said, you get to write Teen Titans West, I'm in. I'll do it for free because I love Teen Titans West. But, I have a 6-issue DC Black Label Teen Titans West. And that's all I really want to do in DC is just 6 issues of Teen Titans West because I have a perfect 144 pages legitly in my head. And that's just a personal thing to do for me. It has nothing to do with money. There gets a point where we all have personal stories we want to tell and ideas to tell, but that's not what we're here to talk about. That's all I'm going to say. That because I love Teen Titans West and Bumblebee is the greatest Teen Titans West leader ever. So that's all I'm going to say on that point. And you could all debate me. You could all hate me for it. It's perfectly fine. But I digress. And even to go further into the story, though, because obviously we have a very interesting female, and I think it's Giaris, I want to say.
Yep, that's correct. Her name is Giaris. And in history, according to records, her real name was Gorgo. And I told that to Sean, and he said, no, that sucks. Change it. So I just started doing some research, into Mediterranean lore and islands. I said, "Oh, there's an island down here in the Mediterranean named Giara. How about Giara?" He said, "Perfect, go right, go." It's like, okay, all right. So I was off to the races with that.
Because one of the things that I really like about her and what I got off the Kickstarter is that obviously she is a very strong female character. And what was this like really to build out what I feel as a strong female character who's tough and isn't cookie cutting anything and is a bit of a badass, because it's nice to see a character that's not Red Sonja in this position in a lot of ways. And it's kind of a cool thing, at least for me to see it, because I'm like, we're seeing somewhat of a barbaric female who's an ass kicker and isn't scared to get dirty. And you get that vibe that, like, I don't have kids yet, but if I had a 12-year-old daughter, I would want to be like, here you go. This is what you should be like in life. Just don't kill me in my sleep. That'd be good.
Yeah, and that's the fun thing about the story. We're going to see her evolve into that badass. We're going to see her as she was like an innocent girl. We're going to see the disappointment from her father. He was disappointed he had a daughter. He didn't want a daughter. He wanted a son. So we're going to see her earn her right to be a Spartan when she reaches 18. And it's not an easy life. She is going to get beaten up. She's going to get the crap kicked out of her. She's going to get cut. And yes, so she's going to earn her right to be a badass. She's not just automatically a badass.
Yeah, and it's also interesting because obviously she's dealing with her father, and father wants a son and wants a warrior, probably even more than, even just having a son to some degree, and wants, a certain lifestyle. And it's appeasing her father, dealing with that internally, and even dealing with all that. And I don't want to say it's a daddy issue, but there is an issue between the father and daughter to some degree as well that's in effect. And I don't think when people think of Sparta or ancient Greece, they say, oh, that's exactly, the relationship between father and daughter. And that's a very interesting thing to explore, because you don't really get those things in the traditional sense of Sparta, for instance. Everybody knows, like, this is Sparta. And I think that's where a lot of things end for people with Sparta. And what is that like to really write that? Because it adds another layer to this story. And it goes, I guess, to a layer 2, for instance, beyond just the sort of warrior lifestyle.
Yeah, and I had to do a lot of research into this because I wanted to add some actual, not necessarily completely historically accurate, but from what we do know is that at the time, Sparta was one of the most free nations in the world, and women were truly free in Sparta. And when the king did have his right-hand person was a female, his advisor was a female, and they often advised the men, for how to run Sparta. So I wanted to really explore that and bring that out in this. We're going to see that more in issue 2 and 3 as well. And we're going to see more of the father-daughter relationship evolve, especially into issue 4. It's not going to turn out too well in issue 4. A little spoiler alert. But yeah, I really wanted to show that women did hold a power of influence in Sparta.
It's something that I, because I don't know much about Sparta or ancient Greece, and obviously I'm more into more modern history, like the Mamluks and Janissaries, and that's kind of my jam. I find that stuff to be fascinating. So I don't know. I know very little. I learned this stuff in like 9th grade. Now it's almost 10, 12 years ago for me. So that again, my memory on Sparta is not anything that Frank Miller hasn't taught me. So, but
it's funny you mentioned that. Even still to this day, when people ask me what I'm writing, I tell them, "Oh, I'm writing about King Leonidas' wife." And some people ask me, like, "Who's Leonidas? Who's King Leonidas?" I'm like, "No, you guys never see 300? I thought everyone saw 300. Apparently not."
Yeah, well, I enjoy 300. That's because I think Gerard Butler was in that, right?
Oh yeah.
and I like him as an actor, and he is a great underrated actor by far.
Yeah. Yeah, I like his action movies. He did one. He did like a cop and robber film like last year. It's kind of like the movie Heat. It's actually really good. It's on Netflix. I forget what the name of it was called.
It was almost like oh man, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I just saw it too, and it's like it's a whole. If we start talking about, we're going to ruin it for people. If you don't really know who's who in it, and then it's a very interesting reveal, the entire thing, and it's dealing with vantage points, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I like his law-abiding citizen movie because he's great.
Yeah, he was really good in that. Yeah, he was creepy in that. Yeah.
Oh, he was so good in that, and that movie is just amazing. But I digress. Right there. There's so much to talk about with this. So, and even going further into this, because obviously there is a lot of history, and what is that like? Because you do have historical things in here, and there are things that are going on, and you did do a lot of research when you wrote this. And what was that like? Finding the right balance, because I don't know if there was actual female Spartans per se in Sparta, but I don't. If women were truly free, I don't see why there couldn't have been. And even just finding the right balance of what can actually happen, the real people in these books, and also poetic license, because it is sort of tricky navigating sometimes through all that. So what was that like for you? All that out.
It was tricky, and there's a lot of stuff we do know, and there's still a lot of stuff that we don't know. A lot of things are just more or less assumed. So one of the things is that there probably weren't female Spartan warriors on the battlefield. They probably weren't out there, and most likely. So this is, I mean, it's like I said, this is in the Merc magazine universe. So this is going to be in the Miss Meow Catfight universe. So this is going to be, what if, more or less, a king did raise a daughter to be a Spartan warrior on the battlefield, and how would she have met Leonidas? How would she have defeated other soldiers? How would she have learned to be a woman? How would she have learned to be a queen? So it's kind of taking factual elements and mixing them in with some fiction. It was kind of tricky, but fun at the same time. It's trying to. I haven't written myself into a corner yet, thankfully. But when I do, that's when I know I'm in trouble.
Yeah, and even to talk a little bit about this, because, and I'm actually curious because I don't know the answer to this. So when you say it's in the Miss Meow universe, I know there's certain things that sort of go really more along a companion guide to Miss Meow in a lot of ways. But where does this exactly fit into that universe, or is this sort of separate because there's so much time? Because my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't want to speak for Jamie or anybody else, but it's the idea that I thought Miss Meow takes place in, present time. And obviously this takes place when Sparta was going on. So there is time between these two works. I think it's safe to say, right?
So there is a lot of stuff I cannot talk about. It's all, we're linking everything is connected. Everything is connected. So that first tease with the King Leonidas' helmet and the Spartans through the modern day, I can't discuss how it's all going to be revealed, but everything is connected.
So it's very universal then.
Yes.
It's a safe assumption where it's this idea that there is a universe being built.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. We actually brought that up. We had a dinner creative meeting. Murphy and I were just talking. We're like, we took a step back and we're like, oh my God, we're really fleshing out a universe here. We're creating a universe right now. It just blew our minds when we thought about that.
So to go further into that, because, and I promise I'm not going to dive too deep, but right now what's going on, I feel, with indie comics and a bunch of companies is that they are now really fleshing out their universes. I have friends who have multiple books and they're linking them up now or attempting to. I know Zenoscope is really trying to do that. Obviously, I think you guys are doing it. And there's a real shift now to universe building versus world building, where, and obviously I haven't written a comic yet, and I'm going to be probably doing a one shot, and I may or may not be working on an interesting book that I can also talk about. but it's a cool project that I'm sort of working on. But what is that really like to say? Now we're not just world building, we're universe building, because there's big properties out there that are universes at this point. And it seems to me, and this is just how I'm thinking, and I'm curious from you looking out because I'm looking in, is that that's sort of the shift now with intellectual property and projects that DC is doing it, Marvel's doing it, and then everybody's sort of following suit a little bit, I think.
Yeah, and to be honest with you, Marvel's been doing it since the '60s. You know, they really started universe building back then. But I mean, for me, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't intimidated by it. I'd be lying if I didn't say like a little bit shaken by it. That wow, I'm up here. I'm building this universe. And we're trying to keep it all together. You know, making sure all the pieces fall into place. Hopefully, they do. And it is, yeah, it's a little bit intimidating, and just trying it, but at the same time, not just intimidating, but trying to have fun with it, and hoping that the readers have fun with it too. That's the difficult part.
And also, I mean, I'm a reader, and I read a lot of stuff, and I'm at the stage as a reader where I'm looking for big worlds to play in. And I'm also at the stage where, you know, I'm a huge anime fan. It's obviously in my company's name, Pop Anime Comics. And I don't mind watching a show that just takes place in its own world, but I thoroughly enjoy watching shows that then travel to worlds and jump around and build off of something. You know, I'm a huge Mood Love fan, which is basically Total Eclipse. And there's like 9 different anime shows of that. Or another example is I'm a huge Gundam fan. And so not every Gundam takes place in Universal Century. I am familiar enough with every single century that I can jump from one to the other. And I feel Sunrise with Gundam has done an amazing job. And so as an individual, for me, that's kind of where I'm gravitating towards now as a reader, because having a series and then having a sequel series doesn't do it for me anymore. I need something more, and I need a more world holistic view. And maybe it's I'm maturing as a reader, or that I'm just at that stage because I've been spoiled by Marvel and DC for so long that I'm now accustomed to it. So that's how I view it. And I don't know if that's even in the discussion that's going on, because that's almost a business decision in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, it could be that we've been I don't want to say, I guess more for lack of a better term, groomed that way by Marvel and DC to read that way and to expect that. You know, and at the same time, I wanted to tell some simple stories, not necessarily so simple, like they're, you know, simple, but like fun, simple stories. You know, they aren't convoluted. Just let's bring it back to basics. Let's bring it back to basics and have a fun story too. Which I think is because reading current day Marvel, I feel like that is a skill that's lost right now.
It's very interesting where I was trained as a writer and I was trained in government writing to write something in less than, 800 words over 2 pages. And obviously I'm dealing with political facts I was trained back a few years ago. It's the idea that if you're working for somebody in the House, you have 5 minutes before they have to go into questioning, and you got to figure out how to write something short. They can legitimately read what they need in 5 minutes, and you got to figure out how to do it. And my professor who's teaching was like, you could write this all in bullet points. And at the time when I was doing that, I wasn't interviewing at all. And now that I am, it's very different, where I'm like, that skill is invaluable, because there is an art to writing short and simple and getting to the point and not overcomplicating things. And I do think it's a lost art in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it really is, and I read almost every new comic that comes out every week, and there are a lot of long-winded writers where it's a long walk for a short drink of water, and I just want to make it a short walk for a good drink of water.
No, I feel you in which that it's complicated, and I don't read a lot of comics anymore. I mean, I pick up my monthly comic bill is about $70 on a good month, And on a bad month, it's like 35 because I'm becoming a lot more selective in what I want to do. And I also recognize a lot of stories suck, for lack of a better word.
No. That is the absolute truth. A lot of them do suck. And it really makes you wonder how they get past the editors, why the editors think they're a good idea. It boggles the mind. It really does.
And so obviously, I'm looking forward to this book because this book doesn't pull any punches. And
that's exactly it. This book, in every single issue, would not pull any punches.
Yeah, it's going to be good. And then the other side of this book that I think also makes it very, very cool as well is that there's a lot of variants coming out. And obviously, going into this, very few comic books have a lot of variants. At this point, it's usually reserved for first issues, monumental issues. If DC and Marvel has an event going on, they want to push hard out. Or what typically happens with a lot of books is that a shop goes and buys an exclusive variant. I'm sure, if I had Sean on, he could explain that a little bit better than because I know Comics Elite has a bunch of, variants, and that's a whole different discussion and a whole different.
That is a long conversation. Yeah, talking about the math of that and how it's supposed to work. Yeah, it is a long conversation.
I know exactly how parts of that work, and then it's also the idea of risk tolerance and a lot of other things.
It's a lot of risk. People don't really realize just how much risk is on the comic book story owner to make a store exclusive variant, and especially when you don't have your choice of artist, which is terrible. That risk just goes up even more.
When you don't, or you do?
When you don't. Yeah, a lot of times you don't have your choice. They'll give you a list of here are your options, and a lot of times it's not going to be your first. It may be your second, but a lot of times it'll probably be that third choice.
Yeah, artists are expensive, and I know exactly what certain people charge, and I know a lot about this, and this is why I don't think people fully understand how complicated this stuff is. Mm-hmm. And it's expensive, and then also there's issues of printing where I obviously have a sponsor as a printer. So if I can print using my people, which a lot of times I don't think you can, all of a sudden that changes the game too a lot. And then there's all sorts of stuff. But again, I am not an expert in this topic. I am sure at some point I will have Sean or somebody like Sean on, because this is such an interesting conversation. And this is like right up my personal alley because I buy and sell comics, and I like making money because there's a lot of money to be made as an investor, not a shop owner, as an investor. Yes. There's a difference between those two. There's a big difference between those two.
Absolutely. And a lot of store owners may think of it as just like a hangout, just it's whatever. No, it's like Sean, he is a capitalist. I'm a capitalist. Jamie's a capitalist. We're in this game to make money. And I'm here because I want to tell a fun story, a no holds barred story, and make money at the same time.
Oh, I'm here to make money. No question about it. No, there's legitimately no question about it. What I do in my comic book investing business is I buy a book, I sell it for more than what I paid. I pay the cost of the book, move it forward into a new book, take out the profits, throw it into the stock market. Because I don't know what else to do, and it served me well in the last 10 years. Very good. I'm going to keep doing it because it's once that transaction is done, I don't know where to put my money, and I don't want to start a real brick and mortar business. That to me doesn't do it for me. I would rather put it into a dividend stock that pays me a dividend every quarter or every month or every year because, and then just keep repeating this cycle. And it's a low cost overhead business, and it works beautifully.
Very nice. Yeah, there you go. You got it all planned out.
And then I'm making money with this, and that's the other thing too. And I'm just going to keep going because it's working. But I digress right there. I may or may not be teaching the class on this in June. So 22 and a half hours, guys. 22 and a half hours. for like $200 of my time, man. I'm going hard. So that's all I'm gonna say is that, but I'm gonna be touting that out because I'm mini Joe Rogan here. So clearly, but I do want to get into rewards here because there's a bunch of them, and obviously, if you just want to read the story, it's $5 digital, which is pretty good considering that obviously, and I'm going to say this very, very nicely because I've listened all over the world, shipping to the UK, Canada, Australia. I don't know if New Zealand's open. I don't even know if Australia is open right now to ship to. I have no idea. I know my friend Max DeVille basically said, we're not shipping to New Zealand because they're not open. And so if you back, we're just going to refund you your money. In New Zealand, I know shipping to Canada sucks. I know that Argentina, I think, was closed for like 8 months in 2020 because of COVID. So digital is a great option if you just want to read the story.
Yes,
I'm
I
a
agree.
big proponent of digital. I know it's not the $20 for most of the covers, and it's not as much money, but obviously, given the fact that there is a lot of craziness going on in the world beyond the United States, digital is a great option for my audience who is abroad. Don't not back this project because your country's shipping isn't open, is all I'm going to say. But having said that, obviously there's this cover here.
Yes.
So is this the regular cover or is this one of the variants?
That is the main cover right there. That is the main Merc magazine cover. By Frank Uzin. He lives in Israel. Great artist. He's done a lot of work with us at Comics Elite, and he did about. So this is about a half and half work. So he did the art on the cover, but Murphy did the other half of it. She brought in the title, the little magazine article headlines there on the cover, the image, the disappointed stare. So it's like about a half and half job between Frank Uzin and Murphy. They both knocked this one out of the park. I think it's probably, in my opinion, the best main cover that they have done across all the titles at Merc Magazine.
Because obviously, for those who are hearing about Merc Magazine, it's obviously most of the main covers are looking like a magazine cover of some sort, or a zine or a zine or something like that. So obviously that is something that is well done there. And I think that's $10. So it's pretty reasonable. And I think that's with the stretch goals too, or is that not with the stretch goals? But the stretch goals hit at 20.
Yeah, I think the stretch goals start at 20, but yeah, I think but actually, well, maybe I think if you do back it if you do back it at 10, you do get all the stretch goals. I think if you just physically back it, you get the stretch goals.
So that's that one, and then we're gonna get into the fun ones here. So this is Shikari, I think, right?
Yep, Shikari. Yeah, she nailed it. As soon as when I forget where I was at, Sean sent me the images when it was being worked on by her. Yeah, we could not believe it. We're like, this was actually illustrated? This is insane. And yeah, she knocked it out of the park. And a lot of people love this cover, and I can't blame them.
It's very much like Carla Cohen does similar style, where it almost looks, surreal is a good way to put it. And it's like a weird art form. And then obviously there's the clothed version, the not clothed nude version. I would, figure out how to remove the censor bar, but I would like to keep my sponsors and my access on YouTube. I do need the views, guys. So as much as I would like to show everything, I do have, places that I have to be in. It's not my house, so I can't exactly show everything. And then Shikari also did this one too, which is more expensive.
Yeah, that's the chromium cover, I believe. We just started adding chromium covers, and that we gave it like the little rainbow effect that the cover is going to look like with the chromium.
And then there's also some hollow foils and some other stuff. I think, is the metal still available, or did the metal sell out at this point?
I do know the metal sold out for the Jay Ferguson variant, but yes, Jay, that is my favorite cover of all of them. I love this cover by Jay Ferguson. I told him he absolutely nailed it. And Murphy put it on the T-shirt, and I am blown away beyond belief. And it's the art piece I wish I had hanging on my wall. I love it that much.
Yeah, it's a very, very, very interesting art piece, and it's something that is very cool. And I like the fact that there's 3 of them, and there's obviously the regular trade dress, the Virgin, and then there's the sketch on it. And obviously there's a combo pack that I think is still available for $100 that is all 3 covers and the T-shirt. So obviously I think you're saving a little bit of money when you get all 3 in the T-shirt versus getting them individually.
Oh, absolutely. And do know, like, so when this campaign closes through the backer kit, when there's going to be a signature option for these if you want the book signed. So do know if you get the black and white cover, sketch cover, I'm going to be signing in red. We're probably all going to be signing that in red.
Yeah, it's something that's very, very, very cool in that regard. And it's something that obviously people are going to be really excited about for those, and people like signatures on books, especially Kickstarter stuff. And so that's a reward. And I think you just get the regular trade dress, you get the Virgin, you get, I think there's a bunch of options for those who want it. And the medal, I think, is gone on that one. So, it's the idea that sometimes, and this is a good reason everybody's watching to actually pick up rewards that you want now, because if you don't, well, they might sell out.
Yeah, that's very true. Yeah, they just might. You never know. And it's better. It's so funny because a lot of people think, oh, it's going to be there. I don't have to worry about it. I got plenty of time. It's like, you may not. And something like this with as fast as we're almost at 800 backers right now. We're 6 backers away from 800. And the biggest tier we're completely sold out of. So at this point, you may want to go ahead and jump in on this while you can, because we got some more big announcements to make. And trust me, you do not want to be late on this train.
And then even showing some other variants. There's this one right here.
Yes.
And so obviously, I don't know how to say that person's name. I'm really bad.
Yeah, Sorsung. Yeah, she. So I was at C2E2 this past weekend with Sean, and I went by her table. I told her she did a terrific job. And I looked through her binder, and she had both of these original art pieces there in her binder. And I almost bought them. If I had some alcohol in me, I probably would have bought them. But I'm sure I'll probably end up biting the bullet at some point and getting them and framing them up on my wall.
Yeah, because this is cool because it's like traditional Spartan gear, and then it's way more I guess goddess gear. And more, grease gear for lack of a better word. And, obviously this is sort of just fun and it hits a niche for a lot of people. And I don't want to say it's bad girl art, but it's like, it's not good girl art either. And it's sort of like a cool little mixture with it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. I mean, it's a confident woman. It's confident woman art. It's the badass woman. I mean, she's a badass, confident woman at this point in that art. That's the way I see it.
Sort of like Megan Bain.
Hey, there we go. I like that.
Megan Bain in her Spartan gear. It's the Megacyst from Greece. Megan Bain, everybody. I actually don't own that photo, so I don't know how long I can keep it up. But I like Megan Bain. And go tweet at Megan Bain to come on my show, everybody. So I could actually interview Megan Bain. I'd appreciate if everybody just starts saying, hey, go on Pop Anime Comics' show. I'd greatly appreciate everybody doing that at the moment. But I digress because that also is exactly what, that cover looks like if it was a real person.
Mm-hmm. She just, you see it in the eyes. You see that confidence, that strength in the eyes. That's the way I describe it.
And then we got this one too, which is super cool. And I know who did this cover because this is just classic. So
yes, I asked Murphy because I always struggle with the pronunciation. I think it's Leary. I think is how it's pronounced. I'm not sure. But,
this is like straight out of Dynamite. This is straight out of Dynamite. Really, that's the best way to describe it.
Yeah, and we thought, hey, this could be a good cover to branch out into the manga market. It's like, they may appreciate a cover like this. So I think we've had some backers for it. I haven't seen the current numbers for it, but yeah, I like this cover a lot too. This is actually really good.
This to me is more of sort of in the vibe of Red Sonja. It's more in the vibe of, what I think is a little bit more mainstream collective, where I think a lot of people see this and like, oh, that looks familiar. This doesn't look foreign. This doesn't look like a weird art style or something that is alienating. So like, especially not the Virgin, but just the trade dress, is something that I would see from Dynamite, or possibly even see from Zenoscope, or even see from Aspen, is how I view that cover, where this cover is very comfortable for me. Versus Shikari or, a few other people, and I'm going to show John Royal in a second here, because I think it's John Royal, is also a little more comfortable for me versus something like this that is sort of new to me. And even this one is sort of new to me. This one is very comfortable. And I think that that's something that's very well done. Whether that was intentional or not, I think this is a mistake people make on Kickstarters, is having the right balance of covers that are comfortable for people and things that are sort of pushing the line.
Yeah, we wanted to have covers that are beautiful, badass, sexy, but like you said, they're somewhat familiar to people. It strikes a memory, and it's like, this actually, I actually do like the style. I do like something like this. Like you said, it reminds you of Dynamite and Red Sonja, so that's a good thing right there.
Because I look at this and I'm like, okay, there's something familiar here. That doesn't mean I'm going to go buy that cover, but I now at least have a sense of familiarity. And that sounds weird to people, and I don't know, like, just I interview a lot of people, and obviously when I'm selling things, I sort of understand that as an investor, that there's certain things that are going to make people feel comfortable. When I go into a comic shop or a convention, and I see certain things that are supposed to be there, or certain products that look familiar, I start feeling a lot more comfortable. And whether I buy those products or not, it's very important. And even setups matter that way. When I start seeing Marvel or DC at a con, I start becoming a lot more comfortable. Or I start seeing CGC, I start feeling, I guess, a little bit more like I'm in the right institution. If CGC or CBCS or Staples are not at a major con, it kind of freaks me out a little bit. And I don't know why exactly, but I don't think I'm the only one.
No, you're not. And we were at being at C2E2 this past weekend. Marvel wasn't there. DC wasn't there. Image wasn't there. IDW wasn't there. Boom wasn't there. Aftershock was front and center. And they took all that money, took all that heat from everyone. And it was very... I've been there 4 or 5 times. And this year, it was the most shocking and jaw-dropping convention.
It was weird, right? Is that a good way to put it?
It was very weird. Like Friday felt like going to a flea market. It was creepy.
Well, if you stop by Aftershock, you met somebody who used to be my local comic shop owner.
Really?
So Mark Hammond, I think is his last name, runs All Yeah Comics in Harrison, New York, because I'm in Connecticut. And he's probably at C2E2. And he has an Infinity Gauntlet tattoo. It's a good way to distinguish him on. And he's got like the gems and all that stuff. So very interesting individual.
I probably did see him. I was mostly talking to Joe at Aftershock, but I'm willing to bet you I did see Mark.
So this is I figured I'd give Mark a shout out because he might remember you. You might not remember Mark.
Yeah, it's very true. He probably remembers me or Ernie walking by his booth and buying thousands of dollars of stuff at his booth. So, yeah.
That's crazy. I don't even have like $1,000 to waste on comics so far. So I need to find better sponsors is what I need to do. Clearly. Note to self right there. But I digress because that's something that I think is very interesting. And obviously this is the John Royal. And I like John Royal's artwork a lot. I really like the fact that this is not even a nude cover, this Virgin. Like, I like the fact that it's not a nude Virgin.
Yes, and I actually, you brought it up earlier, familiarity. And I love how, when you look at something like this, it reminds you, it's familiar of J. Scott Campbell. It's because Royal was a student of J. Scott Campbell. And I feel comfortable around a cover like this. Whereas, upon first glance, I hope buyers go upon this and they're thinking, oh, is that a Campbell? And they just make a a knee-jerk reaction and buy it. I hope so. But yeah, I really enjoy this cover a lot.
It's also nice because, and I'm very, very honest about this, and this is the investor in me. Nude covers are hard to sell on eBay, and the reason being,
yeah, they are,
is that A, you can't show it. B, when you're dealing with an expensive nude book, my customers that I've sold 1 or 2 nude books on eBay, and I don't want to sell them ever again. They want to see the corners, they want to see the book, and that's hard. And then sometimes eBay, even if you follow all the rules, will take it down. And also, I've known people who have lost eBay stores because of this stuff. And so as a business, I don't want to do a nude cover, not because there's not money to be made, but because it's a pain to sell it. And I kind of like a very suggestive non-nude book, because if I go and back this one, I'm going to, maybe in 5 years from now, if I sell it, this is going to be an easier sale for me. And I also feel comfortable where I like to, share my comics that I buy, because, well, I want to support the artist, and I also like views, and I also like sharing what's actually in my collection on my Instagram to my fans, and they want to share things with me, and I can't share a nude cover. So that's the other thing that I really like as well, from a personal standpoint, not an investing standpoint, is that I can actually share both of these covers, and I think that's something that's very important from just a fan base, because to me a lot of stuff is also community based beyond just investing.
Yeah, that's very true. And eBay is a harsh beast, and not only does it take a lot, it actually takes a lot. It really does. It takes like 8%, I think.
13.
Oh my God! It's just not only that. It's like they make it so incredibly hard to sell subject matter like that in their marketplace. It makes it almost next to impossible to profit.
I don't do it because it's a pain, and I would rather, also the difference is that sometimes nude books, especially because I'm a big Zenescope guy, those books are $100, and I don't want to outlay $100 in capital. I like to outlay 20 to 25. I feel a lot more comfortable, where I would rather make, a 3x on a book and have an easier sale point, because also nude books fetch more. I mean, I think your nude books, for the most part, if it's just regular, is like 20 is for the trade, and it's 30, I think, for most virgins or nude, which isn't a big jump.
No.
But when you're talking a $20 book goes up to 100, that's a big jump in capital.
Yes. And we've got some, all I'm going to say is this, we had talks at C2E2, I'm not going to say what they were. We have big announcements coming in the next few weeks. Any of these covers, any of them, you may want to jump on them now, because as I'm telling everyone right now, just don't miss the boat on this.
But it goes to the idea that with some of this stuff, it's because obviously a medal for instance is like, I think $80, if I'm not mistaken. Around
those weren't cheap to produce. Those were not cheap.
but it's the idea that that's a lot more capital now.
Yeah,
to put into a book, and so obviously that's where I'm at as an individual. But I don't think going from 20 to 30 is a big jump. It really isn't.
No, it's not. But the thing with the medals is that they're going to be in smaller print runs, and they're going to be rarer. So those should, in theory, maintain their value, if not go up in value.
Yeah, no, I'm not disputing that at all. What I'm going at is that I'm explaining certain things to people.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha.
So they understand that a medal, for those who don't know what a medal is, it is a bounded, for lack of a better word, almost like a sheet of metal that has a cover on it, bound to the comic. So I don't know how you do yours, but my understanding of medals, at least with Zenescope, is that the inside of the medal is that like inside cover page for a lot of comics. And I know people do medals differently, but that's how, Zenescope does their medals. And, that's what it is that you have a metal cover on a comic book. The comic book is still readable. Why you would read a medal, I don't know. That's a bad idea. I mean, I'm just saying that if I spent $80 to $100 on a book, that's metal. I'm not reading that bad boy. So,
I've been telling people too. I'm like, hey, if you're a hardcore collector like we do have, get a metal cover and get the PDF. Read the PDF and show the metal cover.
That's all I'm going to say on that point. And then also another cover that you have is some Ali Garza, I think, and
yep,
he's out there, and this is a cool cover in a lot of ways as well, because you have almost a background and you got it like looking like a coaster a little bit.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, I thanked Ali up and down because he was at our booth at C2E2 this past weekend, and I thanked him up and down for doing a cover for me. And having Ali Garza, this is my first professional gig, having Ali Garza do a cover, I'm blown away beyond belief. But Sean loves Amazing Spider-Man 300, and he wanted to do a ASM 300 homage, and so when he's got Ali Garza, why not? And yeah, I love it.
Yeah, it's something that is cool, and obviously everybody's done an amazing 300 cover at this point. So why not? Because there are people, and I don't know how much you know about it, but I know people who all they collect is homages to Amazing Spider-Man 300 or homages to books, and there are people who that's all they have in their comic collection is paying tribute to other books, and that's what they want. Like I know somebody who they're not interested in any other type of cover because that's what they want. I know people who all they want is a swimsuit edition, and that's all they collect. And it's a very interesting niche down position. And so obviously you're hitting a mark with somebody, because if somebody says, I am an Amazing Spider-Man 300 fan, this is what I do, and I collect covers that are this, and that's all they're looking for. So it's kind of a cool thing in that regard.
Absolutely, yeah. And Sean, you and Sean are right about that. There is a huge market for people who just collect those anywhere they can find them. And the response for that has been good. I showed it to some other professional artists of mine, friends of mine, and they're like, "Oh man, Ali nailed it. Ali, this is great." And if you're a fan of the ASM 300 cover as well as the homages, you should love this cover too. Ali he made her a knockout. I love it.
Yeah. I love Ali Garza. I love everything Ali Garza touches. Mm-hmm. He's another one I have to reach out for an interview at some point. As a Zenoscope guy, I mean that's classic Zenoscope at this point, So I'm running through the list, everybody. I'm running through the list, and then I'm gonna go run through it again. I'm checking it twice. We're gonna find out who's naughty or nice. That's all I'm gonna say on that point. And then there's this one too, which is super cool, and I don't think I'm doing justice to these because these are kind of really special edition. They're going to be foily, hollow foils, crystallized. I'm not exactly sure how to describe it, and these photos are not the greatest.
Well, and to be honest with you, I mean, they kind of do look like that when you hold them in your hand. Like the one on the left, the Jay Ferguson, it's a crystal fleck cover. So it's going to have like little crystal flecks on the cover, like all throughout. When you turn it, move it in certain ways, you're going to see these crystal flecks fly around. And the one to the right, I believe that's the lava hollow foil cover. So it's going to look very like wavy, hollowy, like a lava lamp on the cover.
And obviously, it's going to look a lot cooler once you get it in your hand. This is just how it's supposed to look, and yes. I guarantee you that these photos, if you're on the fence of backing it, do not do either of these covers justice at this point, and that, it's going to look a lot cooler is all I'm going to say on that point. And if you are what I call a true believer or love really, really exclusive things, then this is sort of perfect for you in that regard, because these are, I think, very limited.
Yeah, only 75 made of each.
And they're a little bit pricey too, which also helps in limiting it as well. So it's not just limited in number; it's limited in price.
Yeah, so it's going to be they're limited to 75, but only $65. So, yeah.
So there you go. There you go. So it's not going to break your bank, and you should go get it CGC'd as soon as you get it. That's all I'm going to say on that point. Protect your value, everybody. Protect your value. And then obviously there's a lot of different things going on with this as well. And there's a bunch of different combo packs. and then also I'm under the pretense that you're also going to have backer kit where people could add on other things at the end of backer kit as well.
Absolutely. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of add-ons with backer kit, and the big one is going to be the signature option. That's where you can select who you want to sign it. Do you want just me to sign it? Do you want me and Murphy? Do you want me, Sean, and Murphy to sign it? And yeah, we're going to have a lot of options for people. That's what's great about this campaign. A lot of options.
Yeah, and even to talk about that, because one of the things that's kind of cool, and you haven't experienced the other side, where you haven't done, as I stated, Marvel, DC, and obviously Tyndall has experienced it, Sean has experienced it being a comic shop, is that, in mainstream, you don't have as much choice. You don't have as much ability to pick variants or have things necessarily signed or provide different options or even choose the artists you want or how you want something to be done. And choice is good and bad in a lot of ways, where obviously, too much choice can be very complicated. The hardest thing for immigrants when they come to America is the cereal aisle in the supermarket. Because most of the it sounds
I don't doubt that in the least. Between the cereal aisle and the cheese aisle, I can't begin to imagine, the mind exploding.
No. Most immigrants have never seen Cocoa Puffs in their life when they come to America. And it sounds really funny. I think it's hilarious. It's because that joke doesn't punch down. That joke, though, it's funny because people don't understand that most countries have 3 cereals in the world at best. Sometimes most countries only have 1 cereal. And then an immigrant comes to America and they're like, what are Cocoa Puffs? What are Reese's Puffs? And what are Lucky Charms? And they don't understand. And they're looking for their home country cereal and they don't have it. And they're like, what is this? And like, if you've ever seen it, like I've seen an immigrant in Target looking at the cereal aisle and they would look so perplexed and I was shocked. And like, I didn't even know, like, am I supposed to ask? Am I supposed to help? Like, what am I supposed to do in this circumstance? And like, I don't even know what happened to the person, but I figured it wasn't a life or death situation. But that's beside the point. What is this like for you? Because you're coming into something where your backers and the backers on this project and the people who want to read this story are now having a lot of decisions and a lot of choices on what artists they want on their cover, what artists they want to support in a lot of ways. Because naturally, if everybody is backing one artist, then I'm going to take a leap of faith, but the market is saying, book this artist again, for a cover. So what is that like for you? Because it is a very interesting experience to be in. And you haven't had the other side happen to you, where you basically got stuck with 2 covers and you don't like either one of the artists that worked on a book that you did.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate in that so far, knock on wood. But it's funny seeing the numbers and seeing the covers that you think are the best ones, and there are other ones outselling that cover.
So you're wrong.
Yeah, it's like, what am I not seeing that they're seeing? What is it about this cover that they don't like that I like? That's what's interesting about it. Maybe we can do like a feedback thing at the end of the campaign.
So what is that like? In which what covers are really, really hot? Because I think that's pretty public, right?
Yeah, I think you should be able to see the numbers of what's sold and what hasn't, which are the most popular ones. Like the one, I think the Jay Ferguson one, like I would have thought that would have knocked like everything else, out of the park. But apparently got it up right here on my phone. I'm looking at it. The rewards, let's see here. As far as I know, I think it's the Shikari. I think that's the one that's the most popular one right now, which hey, I don't fault them for that. It's a beautiful cover.
Because yeah. I mean, I really like the John Royal. Personally,
yeah.
That to me just screams fun. It screams enjoyable. It screams, kind of just classic, sort of, and also maybe
It's classic Marvel. It reminds me of classic Marvel. That's what it reminds me of. Looking at that,
because that seems really good. And then I think all of them are good in a lot of ways. But like the Ali Garza is great too. But like if I'm to back one and I get paid tomorrow, and I don't know where my next $40 is going to per se, but it's the idea that it's this cool thing where I'm like, it's very much where like the Royal screams to me, I like Shikari and I like what Shikari's doing and what she's doing. Because, but like this, it's also the colors, because John Royal's colors are, and whoever is his colorist does phenomenal work. And to me, it's just like that. Just like I'm gonna look at this cover and it's just gonna make me smile. It is how I back covers a lot of ways, and it's how I invest too. Because if something's gonna make me smile, chances are somebody else is gonna want to buy it too.
Yeah, and it's you look at the numbers, it's not even close. Shikari is outselling everything else. Outside of the main cover, which is $10, that is the one that has sold the most. Right behind is the Jay Ferguson variant. But it shows us, okay, we're on to something here with Shikari. We need to bring her on for issue 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6.
It's also the idea that Shikari, she's getting a lot of attention, and I know this because I see a lot of what she's doing in her group or her page, and then she posts in my Facebook group every once in a while some really cool stuff. And I said to her, I said, just keep posting in my group because it only benefits me what you're posting. And she doesn't want to come on my show because I think she's very shy. So I have to convince her, and then I'm not giving up the fight. So if she's watching, I'm letting her know that you will get on my show. It's just a matter of when. It's not an if. If I could get Sandra Navagun on, and if I could get Claudia Iannicello on, I think I can get Shikari. I think I can do it. So it's coming, but it's super interesting because a lot of these people would not be on a cover for any of the big companies at this point. Maybe
not yet. Not yet. I just know this cover, this work she's doing for us, this will get a lot of exposure for her. Someone's going to take notice. I guarantee it. It's only a matter of time.
And also one of the things that's very helpful, I think, as well, is that obviously Jamie Tyndall has a big name. Merc Magazine did really well with Miss Meow. And there's a lot of infrastructure built in to Merc Magazine. And that's very helpful too, where this is what I call sort of an S-level Kickstarter versus a lot of the people I interview tend to do 5, 6, 7,000. I have friends who maybe do 20,000, but you guys are really running this like a machine. And what is that like as well? Because that's extremely helpful that there's a lot of infrastructure in place. And
I'm sorry.
Oh no, please. You're the guest. I am just the lowly interviewer here.
It's mind-blowing. The first day, it was funded in 13 minutes, the very first night, and I am still to this day that we're at this number. Like I like you said, there are so many big names on Kickstarter. I think Willis Portasio, he has one on Kickstarter. It's barely at 15,000, maybe 13,000. And I see where I'm at. I'm like, my God, is this really happening right now? I can't believe it. But it really does. That Jamie Tyndall name, the Merc Magazine name, it really does help, sell a comic.
Because I'm learning this lesson where this is the first year, and I make no secret about this, where obviously I got a sponsor in August, and my sponsor renewed. I'm looking for more sponsors right now. And what I'm figuring out is how to put infrastructure in place. And I get names like Tom Hutchinson on my show. I get names like Ralph Tedesco. Obviously, I shot out. I got a pretty quick response from Murphy. And I don't think Pop Anime Comics, I don't think Conversations in pop culture is a household name. But the only reason why this is working is that I show up consistently and that I ask. And that, obviously I have some things. And it also helped that I asked Jamie legitimately a year and a half ago at a time when nothing was going on. And that probably helped tremendously too, because if you prove yourself once, hopefully, and I also shot at the message, and you saw the message, I think. I said, I'll take anybody from your company. I will take anybody, and I will be happy, whether it's you, Murphy, whether it's you, whether it's Sean, whether it's Jamie Tyndall. I'll take anybody who's worked on this book because, again, anything, is better than nothing at this point.
Well, hey, you got the writer, you got the creator of it right here. So yeah.
So but my point is that I am understanding how important name recognition is and infrastructure, and it is beyond helpful, and also just having certain people in place, because it must be very, very helpful that, obviously there's a lot of, I guess I'm trying to think of a good word here. There's a lot of trust that has been built with Merck Magazine as an entity at this point, that people say whatever they're going to put out is going to be good.
Well, not just that, but on time. Everything is released on time. Nothing's been late. And when this closes at the end of December, you're going to get your book in February. So the printers are in St. Louis. We're here in Indianapolis, where the fulfillment will happen. You're going to get everything in February. So we've never been late.
Yeah, that's another thing too. I mean, I'm waiting on books, and I'm getting frustrated. I'm genuinely frustrated with people and their projects. It's a real problem for me, and it makes me actually not want to back people's Kickstarters. And I'm very, very agitated about it, where I'm at the point that, and look, I haven't backed a lot of Kickstarters. I've backed 33 of them in the last, 20 months or so. But I am definitely getting to the point where I want to take a long hiatus. And also, I don't like to back people's projects that are more than 6 months out. And that's a rule that I have, because there have been projects that I've backed out a year. And I'm like, if you funded in June and you're not going to get me the book till May, what are you doing? I get you're producing a graphic novel, but even still, that's a long time, because you could be hit by a car, a bus, or anything in between. And the longer things go out, the more I realize that the less likely they're going to be on time.
Yeah. And that's one thing we wanted to focus on, getting everything out. We're treat this like a machine. These are going to be periodicals, 20 to 22 pages. We're going to get these out on time, February. So next one, the next one, the next one, the next one. Every month there should be a new campaign from Merck Magazine.
That's kind of crazy. That's crazy. I mean, it's good and bad. I don't know how much money I have in my bank, so that's a problem.
But like you said, we've got tiers that everyone can afford. If you want a digital copy, you can get a digital copy.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. And also your regular book isn't that expensive. The regular cover is like $10, and I think Miss Meow was $10, and then I forgot the few that were in between, but I think they were all like $10 if you just want a regular copy, and you're just like, hey, look, I just want a regular copy, and I just want to read the story, and I want it physically. So that's always good in that regard.
Yeah.
So I do want to back out of this though, because obviously, and I am curious, because you were just at C2E2, and obviously I've never been there. I don't think I'm coming into Chicago because I don't like traveling for cons. And
I was actually at the Terrificon this past summer in Connecticut, and I've been to a lot of conventions and a lot of comic book shows, and that was probably one of my favorite ones I've ever been to. I had a lot of blast at that one.
I have no comment. About Terrificon.
Oh.
I have no comment publicly, at the very least. I'll tell you off the air what happened. But it's not as bad as people think. But I digress right there. Obviously, I think it's safe to say that COVID has messed up a lot of things in comics. It has messed up a lot of conventions. This entire project started because of COVID, because comic people, wrestlers, cosplayers, and voice actors were getting screwed over and had nowhere to go. And this actually probably started because I wanted to help wrestlers sell T-shirts that were used to subsidize their income on the indie scene in professional wrestling. And then I went into comics too because people were getting screwed there too. But where do you think COVID is going as far as conventions and the way things are going to be handled, both at cons, because Anime NYC proved the point that cons are not safe. They're still not safe. And when you have the White House basically talking about an anime con in New York City, it's not good marketing for that con. Nothing against Anime NYC. I love Anime NYC.
Mm-hmm.
And not to get too political
Mm-hmm.
on that either, but I'm curious how you view it at a con level, even as a business level, because, and I'll just state my position is that if I'm to produce a comic, I want to sell massively online to the entire world. And I think I can do better online, or I could go hire an influencer, because while being at a con is important and networking is important, if my goal is to legitimately sell books, the internet is the greatest thing to ever happen.
The internet is, like you said, it has been a great tool in this age of COVID. It really has been, especially for Merc Magazine. But like you said, conventions, comic book shows, they are terrific for networking. They absolutely are. How should I say this? I've been all over the U.S. this past year going to conventions, and I have not gotten sick once. But I know Sean. I think Sean might have caught COVID, I think, back in October, but he's fine. But as far as I know, a lot of the conventions, we've talked to a lot of the showrunners, they're pushing everything back to their original release schedule, slowly but surely. So C2E2 next year is going to be in August. This past year it was just in December, and now they're pushing it to August and eventually be back to March or April, February, back to where it was. But I think they've realized the economics of it, just how much money is brought into the cities from the conventions. Like Gen Con, for example, here in Indianapolis, that is millions of dollars that come into the city, millions, as well as it is in San Diego, New York. So they do realize while it is a danger, but I think they don't want to risk a true economic problem by not having it there. So they'll do what they can to have it, but try to keep it as safe as possible.
I mean, I have a different, entire position.
Okay.
Obviously, I've gone digitalization pivot 2.0, and I am building it, and I'm in the digital space as it is. The campaign I'm running, it's not a series that I'm launching season 3. 90% of my goals are digital.
Oh, wow.
They work. There is legitimately there are only 2 rewards. There's 3 rewards actually, that are physical. And one of them's a postcard, one of them's a metal card with a collab with a cosplayer. And then one of them is sort of a secret reward that I want to tell anybody at the moment, because I want it to be a bit of a surprise, but it's also pricey. But it's the idea that it's a little bit more intricate and needs some explaining to do, which I don't feel like dropping at the moment. I want it to be a bit of a shock. But it's the idea that there's a reason why, is that I believe in that, and I think that's where the future is. And so if I ever write a comic, there's a good chance I'm not going to be at a con promoting it. And also my entire strategy has been, networking somewhat through doing interviews and just being in a lot of groups and just reaching out to people. And I know it's not exactly perfect, but as somebody with a physical disability, I found a way around a big problem.
Okay, and I was completely unaware of that, and that's understandable if you're not able to go to a show.
It's more than that, and no, it's not an attack. Most people. So for me, there's a lot more stuff in play, and so that's how I feel. And I'm not attacking you. I don't really care.
I didn't take it as an attack. No, I didn't take it at all. And I just figured, I'm like, oh, okay, I wasn't aware of that. So that does, that's understandable. If it's going to shows.
There's a lot of stuff, and I figured out this entire thing. Just as an aside, I went to shows before, and that's why I started doing panels, because I couldn't compete running around with people, but I could go and lecture, and people would come to me. And so I figured out a way, and I like to reverse engineer things differently. So for me, my entire play is that's what I do, where I'm saying, hey, how can I go and figure out a different way how to approach something. And that's my theory in life, because I like to adapt and I like to be there first, because I like to control that space. And that's why in March, when I started this in 2020, nobody was online doing this. And for the first 3 months of COVID, when I started, it was like the Wild West, and it was a panacea of anybody I wanted, big names doing it, getting big views. And then now it's obviously become a lot more competitive. So now I need to figure out the next trend and where nobody's going to be, and then keep going. And I recognize certain things, and I'm also a big advocate for funnels. And that to me is what I want to do, because I want to sell millions and millions of dollars of comics through funnels. And I want my award by Russell Brunson and in Wyoming. I can't wait to go to Wyoming and hold up what looks like a golden painted CD and be like, I did this selling millions of dollars of comics. So I will be the greatest indie comic person who's never produced a comic, is the goal.
That's an interesting way to put it. And I like the way you put that. That's pretty interesting. I like that.
That's the goal. And that's what I want to do. But I want to make everybody who believes in me also just as wealthy as I am, because that's the plan. So anyway, but enough of me pontificating. So that's how I think. But I am curious about another question with Kickstarter, because Kickstarter has been a very interesting place in the last 20 months. And there's been more projects on Kickstarter. There's been a lot more interesting things on Kickstarter. Obviously, big names have come and gone off Kickstarter. And I'm curious how you feel about Kickstarter, because this is your first project. And I like elements of Kickstarter, and I dislike elements of Kickstarter, mainly the idea that there's no accountability.
Yeah, and I think Kickstarter is it's actually, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Indiegogo. Indiegogo's implemented something like that recently, where they're holding their creators accountable for what they're putting out. Hey, if you're late, why, and you may not be coming back for round 2. So it really does make you wonder if they are holding people responsible, those that haven't fulfilled their campaigns, how they're able to keep doing more campaigns when they're still waiting to fulfill the first one. Well, we've been fulfilling everything on time. It doesn't really seem fair at the time, right now, but it is what it is. And you really wish there was there could be some accountability to that.
So I like eBay, where I have a rating. I have 100%, good name on eBay. After about 110 sales, my eBay name is really good. So when somebody goes and looks at this and says, oh, Andrew has 100% feedback, that's really, really important to me. And I really make it a point to do that. And I wish Kickstarter would have that, where there'd be a way how to have it, and they could collect information, and it would be very helpful, because at this stage in the game, there are so many good projects on Kickstarter that how I decipher is, what's the story, who's doing covers, what's their track record, what are the stretch goals, are they going to get me my book on time, all that stuff. And it's I make the joke that I might be starting a show called Comic Tank, where I bring on 20 people every month, and I make you guys all make me a pitch for 5 minutes for me to figure out what book I back and who gets my money. And I'm not even joking when I say that, because that's the problem I have now.
Wow. I think I would learn to cut that down to a minute. You've got 1 minute to
90 seconds, and then I'll have a panel with X's, and it'll be like AGT all over again.
There you go. Yeah. That's where, like you say, keep it short and sweet. Like you say, learn it in the house, keep it all short and sweet, sell it as swiftly and concisely as you can.
I mean, I'm just giving people 5 minutes, and because I get it. People might not be accustomed to pitching in a minute, so I'll give people 5 minutes, and it'll be entertaining for 5 minutes. I mean, Shark Tank, they give them like 4 hours in reality, so I think I should 5 minutes. I think I could be very generous on that point, but that's my problem, is that I have 20, maybe $30 every single month for Kickstarter in my budget, and where does this go? And who's going to earn my money? And I think it'll be really entertaining, and I'm tempted to think about doing it in January once a month, because, well, you guys need to earn my money now. That's all I'm going to say.
That's how it really should be, and how it really, might be. It really should be on Kickstarter. That's how it should be for me on my end. I need to sell you on my book. That's how it is. And I need to sell everyone. I need to sell your viewers. I need to sell everyone out there on my book that they're going to enjoy this. That you're going to get every value out of your dollar from this campaign.
But also, I'm a very friendly interviewer. I share this into like 90 Facebook groups. I'll reshoot it out in like 2 weeks on YouTube. I then reshoot out even after the fact. If you need a copy of it, I'll happily send you a copy so you can put it on the campaign for issue 2. I'm a very, very, very easy interview, and I also do a lot of legwork and people trust, at least my listeners to some degree trust me, that if I say I like a project or that I really like this John Royal guys, you should go buy it. It's probably going to be worth money. I don't know what that major announcement is, but you're hinting at something that go buy this book is who knows. I don't think Merc Magazine's up for sale. I think that's a safe assumption.
Yeah, for right now. Yeah.
I don't think Jamie and Sean started this company to sell it in like 18 months.
No.
I don't think that's the major announcement.
It's not. Nope, it's not.
More money on that. No. I'm also willing to bet that these cover artists aren't signing exclusive deals either. I'm willing to bet that as well. Some of them at least.
Yeah, that's not the announcement either.
No, but that's a given, because I know John Royal does a lot of Xenoscope work, and I will actually cry if you steal him away from that. So please don't do that. I will cry. It will not be pleasant. And you're saying you're making a movie with Megan Bain. I'll just be really upset that I didn't get to interview her. So that's the end of that. but I digress right there. All jokes aside, I'm not going to push any more and put you into a position where you and me both get in trouble and I have lawyers contacting me. So clearly, I got to stop before I start making everybody spill. But on that note, and obviously we've been speaking for a while, I do want to give you an opportunity for self-promotion, because obviously this Kickstarter is going on right now. I don't know how many days you have left on it.
We've got, as of right now, I believe 15 days left. Yeah, 15 days left on the campaign. It ends December 31st at 4 p.m., I believe, New Year's Eve.
So obviously 16 days, you already hinted at the fact that something might be going down. And I'm going to take an assumption that if somebody orders a book tomorrow and said book has to do with the said announcement, that person, if they pledged, will get said book regardless of announcement and whatever happens due to that announcement.
Absolutely. Yeah. No one has to worry about that. They are going to get their book. Yes, absolutely. Yes, they will, regardless of the announcement.
No, it's a legit question. It is a legit question, because eBay does that sometimes, where something happens and then somebody cancels an order and they release the book for 14 times as much. That happens on eBay sometimes. Okay. So
that won't be happening here. We have our prices, our control prices. Sean, even at Comics Elite, he does not pull that crap. He will not do that. So yeah, you're going to get it for the value it's at. So for the price it's at. But yeah, those shenanigans will not be happening on this campaign.
So obviously, given that, and I wanted to make that crystal clear because I think it's very important. But even going further, obviously, where can people find this campaign? Where can people back it? Where could people, even going further, support, obviously, Merc Magazine, Comics Elite, support Jamie Tyndall, follow Murphy, who made all this stuff happen with this interview and a variety of other things behind the scenes, and as well as follow you, because, as I've been saying, backing Kickstarters is not enough. You actually have to support the creatives and the writer and the artist and the people behind those projects as well.
So you can back the campaign on Kickstarter. Just type in Born of Blood or Born of Blood #1. It should come right up. You should be able to see the campaign banner, which is the Jay Ferguson, the Shikari, and the Sora Sun covers. And you should be able to see them right away and back it from there. And you can back we actually did New York Comic Con exclusives, an 8-page preview book for Merc Magazine at New York Comic Con back in October, and those sold out like that. There, Tristan Thompson did a cover, and Ariel Diaz did a cover. She's an absolute saint, and her cover is gangbusters. You can still get those right now, the nice versions, on mercmagazine.com. They're still there in limited quantities.
If you're a Zenescope fan, Tristan Thomas is done some covers for Zenescope.
Yeah, Tristan, he is going to be one of the new rock stars. I guarantee it. And keep an eye out for him, guys.
And then obviously for those who are interested, the Kickstarter link is up above. It isn't an hourly link because Facebook doesn't like Kickstarter links apparently. So that's one way around it. They will legitimately take down my stream if it's not in it. So that's why it's in an hourly link. It will bring you right to the Kickstarter if you would like to back it. Furthermore, obviously, and I've been saying it continuously, you have to support indie content creators and comic creators. And if they have a Kickstarter going on, typically you should back that Kickstarter, whether you're backing a digital pledge of just a regular $10 book or picking up several different variants. That is one way how to support people. But let's say that this book is not your cup of tea. Obviously, there is mercmagazine.com, and you can pick up other books there. And I know there's some other stuff from New York Comic Con and a few other cons that have occurred, and you can pick stuff up from there. And that's another way how to support this project, indirectly or directly for that matter, because obviously all the money that is sold into Merc Magazine goes into new projects. It goes into paying creators' bills so that they can actually create, and it goes a long way. So obviously that's something that you should be doing, because not every comic is going to hit everybody's niche or their interests. Furthermore, though, once you back, you should share that out on Twitter. That is very important. You should share it out on Facebook. And let's say that you're in a tight spot economically. It happens. It's the holiday season. You should be sharing out this project. Just post it on your Facebook wall. Post it in a Facebook group. Just tweet about it. It goes a long way, and you never know who's watching, who's seeing it. And then even going beyond that, you should be following people on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook pages, signing up for email lists. All that stuff is extremely helpful, because that is just as important sometimes as backing, because you will be informed of the next one, and hopefully you'll be in a better economic position to back. So that's what you should be doing. As far as me and what I do, obviously I appreciate everybody who's watching on YouTube, Facebook. Like the Facebook page if you already haven't. Subscribe to my YouTube channel. Share this video out. Like it. It goes a long way with me. Also use my sponsors. Mixum is a great printing company. If you're doing a comic, obviously 5% off. My name is Andrew Davis in the message tab. BCW Supplies, type in Pop Anime Comics when you're buying your bags and boards for 10% off. And that's off of everything in their store. So if you're buying long boxes, and anything else, they got you covered pretty much. And if you're like me, I buy in bulk, you can save a lot of money. So please go use that link. And I also have Buy Me a Coffee. So if you want to support me and what I'm doing, all the money that is from Buy Me a Coffee, my sponsorships, goes to make this show possible, because, running a StreamYard and a variety of other things, that stuff helps. And Mixum is tremendously helpful. And my BCW Supplies code is helpful. It is still expensive to run podcasts. So I appreciate everybody who wants to do that. I will be launching a Kickstarter, hopefully January 1st. And what I mean by January 1st is 12:05 in the morning, because I'm that guy and I want to be number one in the world. I would like to be the first comic book / podcast, and hopefully somebody will not beat me to it, but I'm sure somebody will, and we will have to fight, and I will challenge them to a duel in New Jersey, of course. So having said that, all jokes aside, that will be dropping, and that will be under Pop Anime Comics, Conversations in Pop Culture, and just check that out. And a lot of cool stuff's coming with that. And I got a very cool metal card with a cool cosplayer, and I cannot say anything about that yet. But let's just say it's going to be something very, very cool, and there might be another one coming that people might like. So be on the lookout for it, because stuff's coming. And on that note, I'm going to give you the final word.
Read more comics, guys. Please read critically, And not just that, but enjoy the comics you're reading.
And that's a wrap.